what happened was I kept in touch with that same production guy, and every so often he would get in touch and be like, I'm working here, I'm working at this show, do you want to come and audition? And so there was like a wrestling thing that was going to happen. That didn't happen. And then there was going to be...
God. You're about to beat them all, aren't you?
Well, there were all these concepts he kept throwing at me, and they either didn't get produced or I didn't get cast in them, various things. There was one where it was like, it was going to be like Olympic athletes or like professional athletes competing against normal members of the public doing like silly tasks, and it was all set and I was meant to be doing it, and then they pulled the filming at the last minute and they were like, well, we've already booked your flights to London, do you want to come to London anyway? So I had a lovely weekend in London on the expense of this production company, and eventually he gets in touch and he says, I'm working at this company and we've got a new show that's just been commissioned called I Literally Just Told You. It's going to be presented by Jimmy Carr. It's on Channel 4. Do you want to audition? And I took about 2.5 seconds to yes. And so we went through all the processes and they showed me the concept and we did some rounds and they were like, we'll be in touch. And then they wanted me on.
Lo and behold, they were in touch.
It all started ramping up. And then I did the show, and it was just insane. It was the coolest experience. And I don't know if people have seen the show, but there was a kind of big twist to it. There was all sorts of drama, and I ended up, not winning, but then by default getting prize money anyway.
But hang on. So first of all, I have to say this because you had one of my favorite answers when they asked who was selling eggs out of a carton or off their bicycle.
Oh,
when CEO started selling eggs off their bicycle or something like that. And there's like three. There's Starbucks, there's Pret a Manger, and Greg's. And you went Greg's. They're like, really? You're like, well, it's in the name. Just such a silly Eddie McKenzie answer. It's in the name.
What's in the name? And then there was a pause, and Jimmy looks at the screen, and then the audience just goes, bah! And it was just this beautiful timing of, well, it's in the name. And that was a throwaway because I knew it was Greg's because I know Greg's history, of course,
right.
And I knew that they'd started as that because I love a Greg's. And then I was just like, basically I went on that show knowing I wasn't going to win, and I was just desperately trying to like make a good impression. And so at that point,
have as much fun as you can.
I'd sort of relaxed a bit by that point, and I was just like, well, it's in the name, as a complete just throwaway thing. And it turned out just a great moment. And there was so much of that, I think.
I mean, we can spoil it now because obviously it's been a few
years.
Yeah.
So the concept of the show, the important thing you need to know is that I literally just told you all the answers have been in the show. So all the questions...
So hang on, so were the answers... I'm curious about this.
Yeah.
Was it right before you get asked questions, you have a conversation, or you have to remember everything that's been said?
Everything. So anything, when the cameras are rolling, so anything that's on camera could be a question. It could be a conversation that had happened. It could be a visual thing in the crowd. It could be anything that has happened. So like we started off and there was an introduction bit where they were like, this is Eddie McKenzie, he works in Sainsbury's and he plays in a band, he's from Glasgow, and it went all the way down, and Jimmy was like, those are the contestants and we're playing I Literally Just Told You, and we've already started. Eddie, where was such and such from? And you had to be like, what? And like that was it. Like immediately we were into it, and you had to have remembered all the information. And I didn't do well because I was like, absolutely panicking. But it was like that. And then like hours later they might reference a question that had happened rounds before and be like, what answer did such and such give about this? And you'd have to be like, what? Madness. And so basically the concept...
so it's not as easy, because on the surface it sounds easy, but once you actually break it down, it's
And when you got further and further into it, the questions could get more and more outlandish, because it could be about anything. So that was the whole concept. So basically they had to have given you the answers on camera in order to answer the questions. So we get to the final, and I'm in the final somehow. Surprisingly, I made a complete comeback. It was ridiculous. And they ask a question, how old is Ariana Grande? And there had been a round, so like the Greg's thing, each round was like, you had a choice of 3, so they were like, we've given you the answer, it's one of these answers, so like Greg's, Pret a Manger, Starbucks. Another one of my rounds was Lizzo, Ariana Grande, Jennifer Lopez, I think.
Oh, hang on, because I watched that today.
It maybe wasn't J-Lo, it was somebody else.
No, it wasn't J-Lo, it wasn't Taylor Swift. Hang on, who was it?
I know it was Lizzo, Ariana Grande.
There was somebody, oh god. Was it
Not Shakira, was it?
No.
It was somebody like J-Lo.
Oh, it's gonna annoy me now, because I literally watched it today. Now we're just playing the game, aren't we?
Oh, and this is it. And basically, they'd asked who's the oldest, and so the final, basically, you choose some questions that have been written by production staff under the observation of lawyers and like analysts. So these questions were meant to be like watertight. This was meant to be no messing around. And they asked me, the question was, how old is Ariana Grande? We had never discussed it.
You said 26.
So I said 26. Turns out she was 27. But
She's not 28?
She's 28 now. But
Okay.
This was at the time of filming, she was 26. She was 27. But the problem was they hadn't mentioned the age.
So I want to know this. So you go away thinking, oh fuck.
The other guy wins. I go away. Jimmy gives me a handshake, says, well done, we've had a lot of fun. It was beautiful.